Congratulations. If you're watching this from any part of the world, you made it into year 2026. Welcome to the very first edition of your perfect morning starter right here on Channels Television, The Morning Brief. I am Bukola Coker. Well, surprise, surprise. I'm surprised to be home alone myself today on the show, but I'm sure that Kaede will join me shortly on the program. But Nigeria welcome the new year at midnight exactly, after many other countries that welcome the new year. And speaking of which, let's start by looking at some of the countries that welcome the new year in the last couple of hours. And of course, Dubai welcomed the new year in grand style. Singapore welcomed the new year in a very dramatic fashion as well, with fans singing Calm Down by Rima and Selena Gomez to celebrate the new year. Of course, we also had New Zealand entering the new year 2026, wishing everyone a happy new year. Of course, we also had the new year being celebrated in Thailand and in Paris. We're hoping that some of those visuals will begin to come through very soon to see just how grand the new year was celebrated in other countries of the world. We also had China also celebrating the new year, and there were new year celebrations in London and the United Kingdom. There you have it. Yes, indeed, all of the bright colors, the fireworks, the grand celebrations right there in the United Kingdom. That's how the United Kingdom celebrated the New Year 2026. Here's Korea welcoming the new year 2026. South Korea, to be precise. Nothing short of splendid. See the grand artistic work there in South Korea. But what marks the New Year celebration in all of the countries of the world would be the beautiful, the amazing fireworks that were deployed traditionally to celebrate the New Year 2026. This is France, Paris, France, to be precise. And here's how Paris welcomed the new year.
I'm in Paris. Don't you worry about me.
Ooh la la, Paris is burning and Serena and Blair lit the match.
Dans mon esprit tout divin, je me perds dans tes yeux, je me noie dans la vague de ton regard amoureux. Je ne veux que ton âme divagant sur ma peau, une fleur, une femme dans ton cœur, Roméo. Je ne suis que ton...
Here's how Thailand welcomed the new year. I see the majestic elephant draped in a lot of lights and colors. And here's another traditional, I beg your pardon, approach to celebrating the new year in Thailand. That's an amazing heart shape draped in red lights used to celebrate the new year. And I mentioned earlier, it's important to re-emphasize it and just own it. The music deployed to celebrating the new year in Thailand is our very own Rema's music. And there you have it, the iconic Twin Towers in very beautiful Malaysia, celebrating the new year. Well, I've had the honor of taking a very grand picture right beside the Twin Towers in Malaysia myself, so this brings back a rush of memories. Yes, that's Malaysia welcoming year 2026. And Beijing always seems to own it year in, year out when the citizens celebrate the new year, always commanding attention across the world. So let's just take in this amazing celebration from one of the most populous countries of the world, China, Beijing, celebrating the new year. Beautiful, amazing. Twin Towers of Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, where the New Year was celebrated hours ago. Can we just... Fireworks. And I'm asking Kadi. Happy New Year, Kadi.
Happy New Year to you,
Good to
Bukola.
see you in 2026.
Last time I saw you was in
2025.
I'm sorry, I had to use that joke, but yes, it is 2026. Finally, brand new year, brand new show, brand new all of us. And here's wishing everyone a fantastic 2026. Nigeria also celebrated entry into the new year in grand style, Bukola. You should have seen all the fireworks across the board. So we know you've experienced it.
I enjoyed the fireworks from your beloved Ibadan.
Right. Thank
the
you very
capital
much.
of Oyo State.
Thank you.
From the comfort of my home.
Yeah.
Yes. And so it didn't matter whether the Lagos State government cancelled the yearly concert to welcome the new year. We could celebrate the new year in a beautiful way also from the comfort of our homes, appreciating how Nigerians just generally celebrated, entered 2026. And we want to share your own New Year entry with you, so you can send us, a picture or a message about how you're welcoming, how you welcomed the New Year and how you're celebrating the very first few hours of the year 2026. But cheers to more love, more light, more prosperity in 2026. Yes, this is Ibadan. I saw this. I saw this yesterday while I celebrated the New Year. And though it doesn't come with the splendor of Malaysia or the amazing deployment of technology of Beijing, but this is our very own Ibadan, the capital of Oyo State. If you like, the capital of Nigeria's southwest. Here's Ibadan, and here's how they welcome the New Year, with a lot of lights, a lot of fireworks.
Indeed, and I must say that there are some countries that are not in 2026 just yet. They're the early callers that get into 2026 way ahead of other people, and there are others who are like the last to get into 2026. But as It's been said time and again, last, everybody's going to get this breakfast called 2026. So we're going to be touching base with our correspondents across the world to find out if they're in 2026 just yet and what exactly is playing on. Of course, we'll be walking through some of the big events of 2025. So let's join Maria Bird, joining us from the U.S. What part of the U.S. is she joining us from? Good morning, Maria Bird. First off, are you in 2026 already? Okay, looks like there's still a lot of celebration there in the build-up. But Maria, if you can hear me, I mean, we're excited to be in 2026 already. There's a lot of anticipation, lots of celebration here. A lot of people so probably hungover from the excitement, right, from the celebration, just to be clear. So walk us through what exactly is playing out where you're at. Are you in 2026 yet?
I am in 2026, and thank you, because I can hear you a lot better now. We are 1 hour into 2026, a little over an hour into 2026. It has already started off with quite a celebration. It's 250 years for the United States, and so it's been a very big celebration in Washington as they've been looking to find ways to commemorate this 250 years.
Amazing. And I know that there's usually that culture, that tradition of going all out, ensuring that you get into the new year with a bang. So what has it been like in terms of the tradition? For some people, they went low-key. In Lagos, for example, we had to cancel the, in quote, the countdown concert, which is a Greater Lagos concert. Very big celebration. Why? Well, the government said, for this countdown, stay in your homes, reflect, pray, and just, you know, have a somber attitude. What has it been like for you?
Well, you know, it's interesting you mentioned pray. Many people were talking about, you know, the fact that they really wanted to be inside this new year. So many people went to church. I tried myself and got to church, and they were totally full. And so to see churches full on New Year's Eve goes to show you that many people are choosing to enter the new year in prayer. And so it has definitely been a time of reflection, but that has not stopped the parties. Times Square, New York City was full, packed, more than we've seen in several years. Really a revamp after what we saw with COVID. It's kind of the highest they've seen the numbers since before COVID. We're seeing, even though it's 32 degrees outside, in Times Square, people are still out there celebrating. Lots of entertainment, lots of musical artists there, and they dropped the ball. A new ball was put in place for 2026, and so there was a lot of excitement. And then in Washington, there was a lot of excitement with the monuments and the fireworks that went on there. And every major city across the U.S. has been celebrating in a way of great expectation for what 2026 will bring.
And so, Happy New Year, Maria. It's good to see you. Back here in Nigeria, besides, you know, celebrating with a lot of worship, there's also a combination of, you know, celebration with concerts and entertainment centers, you know, just a mixed bag, really. I wonder if it's the same, you know, in your location. Are there concerts? What are the other ways, you know, that are deployed to celebrating the new year?
Well, and everyone loves Diana Ross. She was performing this evening in Times Square. So it's been definitely a time of much entertainment and celebration. Yeah, music artists all across, from Las Vegas all the way through. And Las Vegas has not yet celebrated New Year's yet. Pacific will celebrate another about 2 more hours. They will be celebrating the new year. But Chicago just went into the new year. Lots of entertainers and celebrations there as well. And so I think people are definitely taking this time. As you mentioned earlier, the United States definitely does like to party through New Year, so we can expect to see people partying all throughout the night.
All right, Maria, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed with how you celebrated the New Year there. Our correspondent in the United States of America, Maria Bird, sharing her New Year with us. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
So let's head to South Africa now, which celebrated the New Year about 8 hours ago. South Africa, I believe is celebrated the New Year at midnight. It's 8:14 a.m. currently in South Africa. So Innocent Samosa, our correspondent, joins us now to share his own New Year with us. Good morning, Innocent. It's good to see you. Happy New Year.
Good, good morning. A very good morning to you, colleague, and our viewers around the world. It's good to be with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So it's your maiden appearance on the morning brief, and we're glad to have you. Now, give us the lowdown of how South Africa welcomed the New Year.
Yeah, it has been a lot of festivities. In fact, yesterday I was in church. As always, we celebrate in church, and then after celebrating, we then put out fireworks, and then afterwards we'll then go out to celebrate. But it has been a beautiful one, I must say. One that had a lot of celebrations, and a lot of people have been saying that they want to leave 2025 behind because it had a lot of, one would describe it as a year with many so much contrasts, because there is success stories and there are losses as well. But I can tell you now that one that stands out in the country is the fact that South Africa hosted the G20 meetings for the first time on the African soil, where South Africa hosts one of these big meetings. And they managed to basically garner more support with regards to the declaration that South Africa was calling for, the issues around pushing the agenda of the global south. So that has been one of the success stories. But also the downside of that is that there has been a lot of back and forth. The relationship between South Africa and the United States continues to deteriorate, but South Africa continues to say that they will engage with the United States because they believe that America is one of the strategic partners. But I can tell you now, colleague, that we had agreed to speak to some young people about their New Year resolutions and the things that they want to see happening in the country. In fact, I'm outside one of them as houses, but they couldn't because perhaps maybe they were indulging yesterday. I'm in the village, so they were indulging yesterday. They can't come out to basically be on camera at the moment. But some of the issues, before I bring it back to you, is the issues around unemployment. They say that they want government to put attention to unemployment, to make sure that people are now contributing to the economy of South Africa. So that has been the big talking point in South Africa. But I can tell you now that there's a lot of festivities, there's a lot of music everywhere. People are still excited.
Well, Innocent, I can tell you for sure that one of the biggest talking points, particularly between Nigeria and South Africa 2025, will definitely be sports, right? And it's still ongoing. The Africa Cup of Nations is on right now. South Africa got to go to the World Cup, or at least will go to the World Cup. Nigeria still has a very slim chance. You know what it is. But, speaking about things that also unite us, what were the high points for you? Again, I think sports is one of those talking points, and we've seen a lot of relationship between South Africa and Nigeria that are mutually beneficial.
Yeah, indeed, I'm glad that you brought that up because South Africa and Nigeria is more like big brothers, and because they're big economies, there's always that competition between South Africa and Nigeria. I can tell you now that, colleague, my heart is still painful from last year's AFCON. So South Africa needs to make sure, my partner needs to make sure that we 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 go forward. But the relationship between South Africa and Nigeria is pretty much improving, if you ask me, because I work with a lot of Nigerians in Johannesburg here in South Africa, where we're seeing cultural exchange, where there's South Africans who are getting married, in Nigeria, and pretty much enjoying, the relationship. But the beautiful part is that the stigma of the fact that they've been, stigmatizing Nigerians, saying they're selling drugs, they are doing this and this and this. I think right now it's beginning to die down. People are becoming educated enough. They're now realizing that it's not, you can't paint everyone with the same brush. Yes, there are those people in pockets of those people in the community who are doing those things, but you can't pretty much, paint everybody with the same brush. So there's that understanding now, and I'm glad that it's coming alive at the moment. But the relationship, I can tell you now that between Nigeria and South Africans, it's mostly about competition, and and where Nigeria beats South Africa is issues around entrepreneurship. You and I can agree on that, colleague.
Well, Innocent, it's New Year, and clearly our relationship goes all the way back. And I must tell you that amidst all of or behind some of those back and forth is genuine love, right? And I'm grateful that you've highlighted some of those improvements in the relations, some of those improvements in the optics and the way we see each other. So it looks like 2026 will be that year. I know we're getting the AFCON. We're glad to give you the second position or the third, depending if you want, but...
No, I disagree.
You disagree, Innocent? So we'll meet on the pitch if we get to play together. But it's nothing but love. Always a pleasure to see you, Innocent, and the great work that you put out there. It's amazing to see. So thank you very much. Happy New Year to you once again, and to the whole of South Africa. Thank you, Innocent.
Thank you, colleague. Have a good one.
Absolutely. So before we go back to Maria to speak to the U.S., Nigeria, call it Africa relations, because 2025 saw a lot of that, and we're not even sure what 2026 will be like. Let's head over to the United Kingdom, where we have Teniola joining us live from the UK. We know that Nigeria and UK share a lot in common, even time zones, just an hour difference, right? But Teniola, what is New Year 2026 looking like in the United Kingdom? Tenny, you've got to unmute for me, please. So, Tony, if you can unmute so we can get your comments in properly.
Sorry, it's very early, so my brain is still, turning. It's 6 o'clock here, Kayode. So we're just a few hours into the new year. So people are still sleeping.
Right.
Most of the party was last night. We celebrate New Year like most of the other countries around the world with fireworks. And I think in London, we probably have the best firework display in the world, if I do say so. Well, that's what people are saying. People troop out to central London. There was a display, one of the biggest in Europe, with about 12,000 fireworks over 12 minutes. It was under a theme of togetherness. We had about 100,000 people who bought tickets just to see those display, and it incorporated flags of different countries, celebrated British culture, celebrated a lot of our wins this year in 2025. Although it was cold, we did see a lot of people, a lot of tourists trooping out just to, have that feeling, the optimism that a new year brings. And people are really excited to go into the new year, see, of course, there are improvements, to see what the new year brings and just celebrate with friends and loved ones.
Interesting. It's good to see, and we're just appreciating just how beautiful the celebration of the New Year is in the UK just moments ago. But another subject that shaped 2025, as far as relations between Nigeria and the UK is concerned, will be the tightening of visa rules for Nigerian immigrants. And we know that the UK has quite a healthy population of Nigerians. Tell us how that is shaping conversations within the Nigerian community in the United Kingdom ahead of 2026, and what the outlook really looks like, for those who have families back here in Nigeria.
Like you said, there is a large Nigerian community and a large migrant community in general in the UK. And I think speaking to people, 2025 was definitely difficult, not just in the UK. I think what we're seeing in the United States has put more fear in countries across Europe. We've seen how Donald Trump is handling immigration rules, and more people fear that this could influence other countries in Europe to take a more tougher stance. Already, the UK has introduced new measures. There are worries about this among Nigerian communities. And I think one of the standing point is a lot of people don't feel appreciated. If you know anybody that has moved to the UK, you know how expensive it is. You know how much money you put into this. And I feel like this is the new immigration rules have kind of changed the rhetoric that people feel that they're not being appreciated, even though they spend so much to move into a new country. We've seen rules focused on making settlement harder, requiring longer residence. There's an increase in skills salary threshold for work visas, raising costs like the immigration skills charge, tightening graduate visa rules, and introducing earned settlement based on contribution. From January the 8th, next week, many migrants will need to speak English on an A-level standard on the tougher new rules. And there's just a lot of new rules coming in that will affect families, that will affect graduates, and people are just not feeling very appreciated. And it's not a huge rise, but from speaking to many Nigerian communities and also other migrants as well, we saw the wave of people, the Japa wave, but there's also a small, tiny wave of people, the Japada, people going back because they don't feel appreciated. And, when you feel under threat, it kind of makes you move. People don't feel, certain. Any change can come in that can affect your livelihood, that can affect, you having to make a big change. So there's a lot of uneasiness, and we will see more of that uneasiness as more of these rules come in. So it is unfortunate, but I think generally in the UK, although we did see those riots that had to do with immigration rules in the end of 2024, generally Britons are very welcoming to Nigerians. Nigerians are an active part of the society. In fact, just a few days ago, the King released the New Year's Honours List. And like always, Nigerians were very dominant in that. Nigerians are doing amazing things. In 2025, I was privileged to cover stories of Nigerians in diaspora, as always. And I'm always just so proud to see what Nigerians are doing in different circumstances. We are brilliant people and we do shine. And in these countries, we do make a very positive impact. Even though we do come in, we make a huge change and huge impact to the society that we do come in.
Indeed, and we hope that as you talked about the Jackwater that began happening last year, we would see more of it this year as well. And more importantly, that, there'll be progress in bilateral relations between the United Kingdom and Nigeria. And perhaps healing between the member of parliament representing Nigeria, who is a Nigerian, of course, a UK citizen, Kemi Badenoch, a healing in relations between us and her. We must thank you very much, Teniola, for coming through and sharing your new year with us this early.
Yes, Happy New Year, guys.
Yes, Happy New Year. It's good to see you again, Tenny.
Right, so our correspondent Teniola Itai joining us from London. So let's go back to Washington and just tidy this up with Maria Bird, because the relationship between the U.S. and Nigeria was quite dramatic last year. There were a couple of intrigues. So Maria, we decided to leave this for the last because it's one of the major talking points that would, of course, shape 2026 as well. And it's usually tricky for Nigerians to sort of internalize this. On the one hand, it looks like the U.S. is really interested, particularly in the fight against terrorism, in the attacks on Christian-dominated areas. But on the other hand, the U.S. with visa restrictions is saying, well, do not come here. So it's tough to balance that love-hate relationship. What is it like, really, Maria? And how do you see this shape in 2026?
Well, I would say that for most Americans, U.S. and Nigeria, it's a love relationship. Nigerians are the leading physicians in the United States of Black physicians. So the majority of Black physicians are Nigerian. So Nigerians play a major role in not only the economic components within the U.S., but just the fabric of the country. And so just to be, I think, to set the stage as to the impact that Nigerians have in the United States has just been vast. Previous administrations have had presidential appointees that are of Nigerian descent, and so this is definitely, I think, a very different time for the U.S. and Nigeria. We do remember, though, in previous Trump administration, he did bring President Buhari at the time, the former president, to the White House for a visit, and so Nigeria has been an interest area for the administration for quite some time. And as you can see, a large section of Africa has been a focal point during this administration for the president. Noting, we must also remember that the U.S. and China have been a very tense relationship since the beginning of this Trump administration and the previous Trump administration. Knowing the relationship and the type of investment that China has in Africa and the relationship there, I think does bring a certain level of focus and interest from the president. But as you mentioned, two very different things. One is the focus around security. The U.S. obviously has had an interest in helping to find ways to secure the northern regions of Nigeria, especially when you talk about Boko Haram and some of the security pieces there. A lot of that obviously is global. Focal point is that this is not just something that obviously is just in the northern region, and you think about what the U.S. has, the programs they put in place around ISIS, knowing that ISIS has expanded throughout the world and the global network that it has, and so the interest the U.S. has had there as well. And so I think the interest for the U.S. as it relates to security in the northern region has preceded the Trump administration. The difference, though, is that how it's being managed. And so I think that's where Americans are either concerned or they're wondering how the Trump administration plans to do things a little bit differently. Maybe they're hoping to see a more forward approach, which he has taken. But you are talking about putting the country on the list of a country of particular concern, but to your point, also have put some provisionary measures around visas. And some of these are tourism visas, but also noting that the U.S. has had a major immigration upheaval and change overhaul. And so the U.S. has definitely changed its policies around what we've seen when it relates to immigration and coming into the country. But as many people have been reminded, we do know that many Nigerians decided not to go home for the holiday because these travel bans were put out during that period of time. But it has been stated that anyone that does have the appropriate visa should have no problem traveling in and out of the United States.
Well, Maria, that really presents a lot of context, and we'll see how things play out in 2026. Always a pleasure speaking with you. Once again, Happy New Year, Maria. Let's hope that 2026 will be way better than 2025.
Thank you.
Oh, that's our correspondent, Maria Bird, joining us from Washington. They are in the new year. Some other parts of the U.S., I should say, are not in the new year just yet. No thanks to the time zone. But we'll take a quick break now. And when we return, there's someone entering the new year as a member or the newest member of a major political party in Nigeria, which is known as the Coalition. Mr. Peter Obi announced his defection to the ADC officially yesterday, and we have one of the leaders in his corner joining us next on the program to speak to this, call it a New Year present from Mr. Peter Obi to obedience. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Today is the last day of 2025. So we are ending this year with a hope that in 2026 we will begin a journey of rescue of our country. For proper socio-economic development that will be unifying and inclusive. We have all watched those who benefited from our democracy sometimes now become accessories to destroying our democracy, either through coercion and gangsterism against the opposition. We cannot allow this to happen. We will resist it. We've now seen people who benefited in our democracy be part of celebrating electoral fraud publicly. And we are saying that those who are planning to rig an election in Nigeria come 2027, we will resist it by every means lawful and legitimate.
Welcome back. Strong words there from Mr. Peter Obi, presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 presidential election, who is now officially a member of the ADC. And so, a New Year gift for Nigerians on the last day of 2025. What are the implications of this major move, just when we thought that we had had the last of defections of governors, and that came through on the 31st of December? Joining us now is the National Coordinator, the Obedient Movement, Mr. Yunusa Tanko, who will bring us up to speed with all of the implications surrounding the movement of Mr. Peter Obi to the ADC. Mr. Tanko, Yunusa, good morning and a very happy New Year to you.
Thank you very much for having me this morning. Good morning, Nigerians, and Happy New Year to everyone. Interestingly for me, it's a working one, but I'm glad to be here with you. Happy New Year, everybody. I know it's been a difficult one, but we just have to keep on moving.
Indeed. A bright way to start. And so we can we, by the way, conclude that you are now a member of the African Democratic Congress, of course, following the defection of Mr. Peter Obi, and help us understand also the implications of this movement for the Nnamdi Usman group of the Labour Party. Does it also mean a defection of that group to the ADC?
Well, let me just start by saying that yesterday what we witnessed was a public affirmation and confirmation of His Excellency move into the African Democratic Congress, ADC. And then permit me also to clearly use his words when he said that 2026 is a decisive moment for Nigeria where you need clarity, courage, and at the same time decisive action to wrestle Nigeria back to the hands of the people from those who have held us in perpetual poverty and then who have conspired against democracy, killing democracy directly and with a lot of venom. And at the same time, it is the best time for every Nigerian to come together, united under a common front to get back Nigeria into the fold. And that, of course, by extension means that Nigeria needs a lot of people to come together. With reference to the Honorable former Minister of Finance, Nnamdi Usman-led Labour Party, you will come across in no distance time where political parties not only had on leadership of the Labour Party, other political parties would join in this coalition in order to make it stronger. And you know, it is very important to also say from the words of Mr. Peter Obi, he said Nigeria is not poor. It's just that Nigeria has been looted into poverty. And at the same time, he said Nigerians' youth are not weak. They are very intelligent. You can see what they've done in the music industry and the movie industry and all. And our intellectual base in Nigeria, both locally and internationally, is profoundly fantastic. All the institutions have been deliberately kept in abeyance in order to conspire against Nigeria and its people. And this must change, because history will not forgive you if you are silent. It may forgive you if you make mistake, but then at the same time, for you to challenge the status quo, we all must rise up. So it's a parting gift for Nigerians for 2025, and a raise of genuine hope for Nigerians that we must rise up together in unison to reclaim Nigeria back to the hands of Nigeria against those who have used it deliberately in conspiring against the state and then taking advantage of democracy while destroying it to empower themselves very disgracefully. Thank you.
Tanko, so you've spoken about his motive, it would seem, at least from what he has said. But this is the optics that a lot of people still see when they look at the ADC. If he's saying that he's trying to fix what has been broken by successive administrations in Nigeria, a lot of people will look at the faces in the ADC. They'll look at former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. They'll look at David Mark and other major leaders, Rotimi Amechi, and they'll say, well, these were people that were also a part of that in that sense. And this is a narrative that has come through time and again. So when they see him joining forces with those people and he says, well, I'm trying to fix what was broken, they see it as some sort of double speak. So what does he have to say to that? Will he ever erase that perception?
In a political and democratic war, you need everybody. Yes, some must have made some lot of mistakes in the past, but when they come back, you need to find those who have the capacity to work with you. The idea is not about individual interest, it's about the collective interest to rescue Nigeria. Let me give you an example. You may have people who have been engaged in certain, war against the state, but you can see if they are genuinely changing their mind in order to rescue the country. And then if they are, then you will have a manager in Peter Obi, a manager of wealth, who is interested in rejigging the society back into the rightful place to excise the political base, as well as giving it a sense of clarity and purpose. So if you have that kind of man in the leadership role with this very important unifying capacity, then you don't have anything to fear. So because he as a person understood all of these particular challenges within, and those who are interested in coming into this particular coalition also understand the challenges. But the question is, would you continue to keep quiet just because some other people have done something wrong before and then they are ready to change and work together as a team? Obviously, no. So I want Nigerians to understand the basic indices in politics. In politics, you don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. You can come and keep up a clean water into the baby's tub and then clean it up and make it a better looking one. And that is the situation in which we are at the moment. So I can assure you, Nigerians should have no fear at all. With the Peter Obi and the conglomerates of good Nigerians who are ready to fight for the soul of Nigeria, they are at home. And they should all come out to fight for democracy and defend the interests of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Well, Mr. Yunusa, I wonder how reassuring that would be for the obedient movement. And you are, the coordinator of that movement. When Mr. Peter Obi is concerned, the biblical saying could be deployed. The next expectation awaits his decision. So is this decision to move to the ADC satisfactory with the, majority of the members of the obedient movement, especially because Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is also with the ADC. And so what happens at the primaries? Are we going to see another defection if one ego does not yield to the other? Because Mr. Peter Obi has said he's going to be on the ballot in 2027 rather.
Well, if you notice, with all due respect to the ADC, it got its traction when people come around and agree and all. But the vehicle of ADC kick-started yesterday. It kick-started with one ignition kick, and that is that of the excitement that His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi has brought to it finally. The vehicle was actually parked, ready to start moving. Now it's going to move. It's going to move at an astronomical pace and speed. This is because in the obedient movement, we have intelligent youth who are demanding for clarity and good governance. They have made that position known very clearly, and they are going to move in their millions into the ADC. That is an affirmation. Permit me to use this opportunity to also affirm the calling of His Excellency on all obedient and every Nigerian who mean well for this country to go in and pick up the membership card of an ADC, not on the, comfort zone here in Abuja and all. No, go back to your ward, your place of domain where people know you back at home. Pick up the card, showcase it, let the whole world know that everybody is now in ADC. Well, at the moment now, the government has used its executive power, negative executive power against the people. We are asking the Nigerian people to use their positive executive power to get Nigeria back on the track. And I can assure you, the obedient movement can do that. We can galvanize Nigerians, we can mobilize them, and at the end of the day, when it comes to the issue of primary as Democrats, we will go in there as Democrats and contest equitably well with every contestant based on democratic tenets. And of course, we believe at the end of it all, Mr. Peter Obi will come out top with the large teeming population that is bringing into the ADC. So have no fear about whether we are going to move out or move in. But I can assure you we will remain and battle for the soul of the ADC ticket and battle for the soul of Nigeria collectively, but not indecisively.
Mr. Yunusa, what happens if Alhaji Atiku Abubakar wins the ADC ticket for the presidential elections in 2027? What decision then would Mr. Peter Obi take at that point?
We are Democrats and we will take democratic decisions. That I can tell you.
What does that mean?
That means that we will remain in the party and give the party the lease of life as it demands democratically.
Does that also mean that there will be no further defection? Because your principal has said with certainty that he's going to be on the ballot.
That is what I tell you. Democracy comes with affirmation, and he has affirmed to be part of this democratic process. And in democracy, it has all kinds of phases. So we will take our decision democratically and remain with the movement and the coalition as it were.
So the question is, who is with Mr. Peter Obi on this journey? Who's on his side? We've seen the governor of Abia State saying, well, I'm fine right here. I'm not moving, right? And I mean, that would have been a major political heavyweight coming with him into the ADC. But no, the governor says, I'm not going. When he joined the Labour Party 2022, you could see the overwhelming support from a lot of Nigerians, both online and offline. People changing their social media display pictures with Labour Party's logo, putting it up, saying, you know what, I'm for this. But this time around, it's not been the same. In fact, his vice, Dati Baba Ahmed, perhaps you can speak to that as well. So the question is, who is with Mr. Peter Obi in this defection? Who is on his side? I'd like you to name them.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kayode. Do you remember that prior to the 2023 general election, was Peter Obi having anybody by his side? Obviously, no. What he was having is, the way they say, is only 4 people that were going around in the corner of their room mobilizing. Yet it produces the vice president that you just mentioned, Madam Deti Baba Ahmed. It produces Alex Oti that you are just talking about, who became the governor of Abia State. It produces many members of the Federal House of Representatives, senators. That is one man that does not have anything. So you can imagine what will happen next All those pictures that you are seeing, wait in the next few days. You will see the same kind of mobilization. So we are not perturbed, but we know also in spirit and mind they are with us. Yesterday, interestingly, at that hall in Nikki Lake, you saw former governors that were not with Peter Obi at all before. They were all there. There were about 67 and hundreds of members of Federal House of Reps, members who were part of other political parties who defected right there and then, or rather took up the mantle of leadership of joining the ADC. This was done only yesterday at that particular Nikki Lake hotel. And at the same time, it is important for me to raise this. He's the only presidential candidate that came up with a lot of teeming support of people who came in to join him. That speaks in volume. So if you like, you can undermine that particular strength of collective interest and watch in the next few days. So a Peter Obi is a mobilizer of men of integrity, people who believe that they need to change the narrative, and they believe that this is the time, better organized, ready to move. The obedient movement have declared long before now that anywhere Mr. Peter Obi is going, we will go with him. So, Kayode, don't be perturbed. Be more hopeful that I can tell you that the mobilization and the movement that you will see will be different from what you saw in 2023. And for those who have left, I can assure you, quite a number of them have seen that the train is now moving with a headlong supersonic speed. So if you don't join, we know when you join us. Well, and then I'm asking everybody to please come on board. Right. We need to rescue Nigeria, and Mr. Peter Obi is at the saddle of leadership.
To be clear, I'm not perturbed. I'm a journalist doing my job. I'm not in the arena with politicians, right? Our role is to report what's happening and ask the questions that need to be asked. I want you to be specific now. What are those names? The people who are currently office holders. Clearly, the governor is not joining him. But maybe in the National Assembly or State Assembly, can you list them? Because, again, this is important. They say, show me your friends, and I'll tell you who you are. It's the people that can identify with you in times like this. If you have people of timber and caliber, as they say, identifying with you, then a lot of people will understand what he's up to. So maybe give us some of those names, particularly the ones who
you saw,
office holders.
You saw yesterday the former governors.
Not former governors this time around. Not former governors, Mr. Tanko. I appreciate that.
Wait, now, let me conclude.
Current office holders.
Just be patient. Just be patient. Yesterday, the person that was the MC of that particular occasion was none other than the former chairman of ABGA, Senator Victor Ume. He was the master of ceremony. That speaks in volume for you. Two, and then Honorable Sheyi, senators, all senators in the former Labour Party are with Mr. Peter Obi, and they were present. Members of the Federal House of Representatives who are office holders at them, all of them were in that particular hall yesterday. And then everybody that is within the southeastern part and the north were there. Former speakers, deputy speakers, and then Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives was in that particular hall. So, with all due respect, for somebody who did not have anybody before, now can command all of this in a peaceful and more organized manner, I don't think you need more than this. And then I can tell you also, the teaming supporters of the obedient movement, millions of them, both locally and internationally, right. So we did not even want to publicize that particular occasion yesterday, right, because that particular thing wouldn't have been able to contain the people. Yet we had that particular
volume the crowd. So specifically, pardon me, Mr. Tanko. So Senator Victor Ume, did he defect with Mr. Peter? Because I'm looking at his socials now. He still has a Labour Party outfit that he's wearing on his profile on social media. So is he in the ADC right now as well?
Of course, and let me give you a confirmation. He was even the one that asked. There was a motion that was moved in an affirmative position for everybody in the hall. It was moved by Emeka Ihedioha, and then it was affirmed by former Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives, that was Alhaji Aminu Tambuwal. So all of this happened in the hall at one sweep, and it was affirmed. It was a yes vote for everybody in the hall. So in the next few weeks, you'll be seeing people doing their independent picking of the cards of the ADC, which I have affirmed that every obedient would also do at the moment now.
And so we can also conclude that Senator Naya Baribe, who was with the All Progressives Grand Alliance, has now moved officially to the ADC, right?
Confirmed.
All right. There are so many things to look forward to in the coming days, knowing who is with what at the National Assembly as well, whether the Labour Party, the remaining Labour Party members at the National Assembly will be moving to the ADC, or they will remain in the Labour Party. Of course, it's an ongoing conversation. Well, most thank you for the clarifications that you have brought to this conversation at this point. Mr. Yunusa Tanko is the coordinator of the Obedient Movement, who has helped us understand the implications of the most recent defection of Mr. Peter Obi, presidential candidate of the Labour Party in 2023, to the African Democratic Congress. Thank you very much, Mr. Yunusa.
Thank you, and have a blissful New Year, everyone. Thank you. God bless Nigeria.
Interesting. The talking points for the new year continue as far as politics is concerned. But what are the biggest events that shaped the year 2025, which is now behind us? We'll begin a review of them in just a moment. Stay with the Morning Brief. We'll be right back.
So what we did for this segment is to travel across time zones, across continent, to bring right here Maiwa Adegoke, all the way from Dubai. Maiwa.
Good to be here.
See what we did, right?
I saw that.
Power of technology. We've gone ahead. So this is not hologram. This is you.
In the flesh.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Because we know the time in Dubai right now is about 10:57, 3 hours ahead. So Dubai got into the New Year 3 hours before us, and the fireworks rather, glorious, beautiful. So let me put you on the spot right now.
Hey.
Which New Year celebration do you prefer? The Dubai one or the Lagos one? Did you see the Lagos?
Spot. You know, I have two homes now. I have two homes.
I mean, look at that, Maiwa.
It is amazing.
Isn't it?
Always spectacular.
Always.
I'll tell you something. I've, witnessed myself the Burj Khalifa fireworks.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you just watch from home because, listen, I'm not about to be in traffic. And I like my sleep. So most times I probably sleep. But just last night, I got woken up by the fireworks. Right? Because people, the thing in Lagos is your streets, your community, there's fireworks all over the place. You don't really get that in. You have to go to specific places to get that. But here, it's like everyone is part of the fun. There's no, I have to get to one beach somewhere or one building somewhere.
We all have our Burj Khalifa.
It's happening right in your backyard. And that was a bit, I experienced a bit of nostalgia, like, oh, this is home. So both of them, they tick the box.
Spoken like a politician.
You know what I'm saying.
But of course, we can't take away the culture of celebrating New Year here in Nigeria. Everybody wants to be, in church or in the mosque, depending on the faith that you profess. And for the boys of the streets, maybe they're celebrating in concerts. But what is it really that shapes the New Year celebration for the Nigerian community in Dubai beyond the fireworks that welcomes 2026?
It's pretty much the same. People, you can't take people away from Lagos or from Nigeria.
You can't take it out of them.
You can't take the Nigeria out of them. So for people who are as you said, Christians, if they're church, and depending on the church they attend, if it's a church, for instance, we have Redeemed there, we have Winners there, you have some Nigeria-grown churches that you have there. So if they're attending such churches and they're hosting watch night services or crossover services, then you would find people in their church. Otherwise, you'd find people maybe going to check out the fireworks themselves, at home, sometimes like me sleeping, or people just gather together in different houses. So we'll all meet in someone's house, someone's villa. There's food, there's drinks, there's, you know, just merriment. So it's pretty much the same. And the theme is community. People want to be together. They want to eat jollof rice and do all that and just celebrate and be hopeful for a new year, regardless of all the challenges that the previous year, you know, flogged them with. It's like, it's a new year. Let's be hopeful. Let's celebrate.
And it's good you mentioned some of the floggings of 2025. Mixed bag for a lot of people, even for relations, bilateral relations. Nigeria, the UAE, Nigeria, Middle East, Nigeria, the US. We just had a conversation with our correspondent, Mara Bird, in Washington. We spoke to Teniola as well, the UK. So wherever you turn, there's always a story to tell.
Absolutely.
So what was the story that 2025 told of relations between Nigeria and the UAE? You know, it's been very interesting one. But 2025, what was it like?
To be honest, 2025, interesting. We have to say was.
Was, yeah.
Just a few hours ago.
Exactly.
Was a better year.
Yeah.
And good compared to the previous years. I mean, representing channels there, telling all these stories for the past couple of years, I got tired of telling negative stories. Oftentimes, things are not working, there's no visa, people can't get jobs. You just get tired of telling these stories, and you're hoping that one day we can begin to tell positive, hopeful stories. And 2025, we saw that shift. How, you know, President Tinubu visited, and we saw that, okay, something is beginning to shift. You saw ministers who had come as well, Minister of Youth, Minister of Tourism, they had come, you know, gotten some interesting partnerships secured, people telling you we're not able to change visas, oh, it's going for women, or it's going for men now. The thing is, it's not El Dorado yet, it's not perfect yet, but we've seen that huge difference compared to the previous years, and that's a big plus. So a lot of people are now in 2026 with a lot of hope and excitement that it can get better, it will get better. And yes, there's a role for each individual to play. Represent your nation well. Wherever you find yourself, be a good ambassador of the nation. Very important. But it's also to the government back home to say, while you're securing these multi-billion deals, trying to get people, investors to come to Nigeria, do not forget your people who are living there. Don't get carried away. It's not just Nigerians in Nigeria. It's also Nigerians in the diaspora, and in this case, Nigerians in the UAE.
Speaking of the people that are living there, what did the frosty diplomatic relations in the years 2022, 2023 do to the fortunes of Nigerians? And I say this based off of, you know, an experience of relating with them firsthand in those years as well, when you find that most Nigerians are either working as, you know, stewards or housemaids, or they're doing street business, or they're doing something very, very shady. How significant is the fortunes, you know, of Nigerians now between that time and now?
There was a horrible shift. Horrible shift. Now, to speak to what people find themselves doing, I think regardless of whether Dubai shut their doors or the UAE shut their doors or put in restrictions, people will always do what they have to do. You will always find people who are at the top, at the middle level, or at the bottom in some cases, depending on just fortune. Life is life, and life will life, like they say. But in terms of people who are well off, we've heard stories of people who are doing fantastically well, who had families, who had great jobs, and just like that, fortunes change. It's, you know, maybe you can't renew your work visa, your company tries and tries, and they say, well, sorry, we have to let you go. Imagine, I heard of a case of someone who was working maybe in a hospital or something. His family had been there years, and he lost his job, their fortunes changed, they had to leave the country. So imagine raising your children in a country that's become home. Imagine your kids, maybe 7, maybe 9, maybe 10, that's all they know. The UAE is all you know, or where you've built your life. And then just because of that situation, you have to leave and start from scratch. I'm like, even if you go back home, which house did you build in Nigeria? Maybe you hadn't, you know, maybe you don't have some family house to go back to. It's that bad, or it was that bad for a number of people. People who, they lost their jobs, they had to figure it out, become overnight entrepreneurs or solopreneurs. people who had to fall back to their savings and investments, people who said, you know what, if I leave now, it's going to be difficult to get back. I'm going to wait it out. It will get better. It will get better 1 year. It will get better 2 years, 3 years. And then you find that people back home in Nigeria are the ones sort of funding them over there.
So they're worse off.
So we heard of just different sad stories. Are there people who would still do well off? Yes, always, regardless of what's happening. Some people didn't get quite affected. But one thing I tell you is, when I first moved to the UAE, you know, there was that era of, certain people were like working for multinationals.
Yeah.
They were doing quite well. It's like, we're not affected, so just leave us, we're the bourgeoisie. And then you'd find others. But when it happened, when that relationship got severed, everybody felt the impact one way or the other. And what happened was people realized we have to band together. Just because I've got a great job and I live in a villa doesn't mean I'm immune. So let's all work together.
And I think that should be the code for 2026. Absolutely. Together, we can do better. Okay, just rhymes. That works. But Maiwa,
did I give you that?
Maybe, maybe not.
You did.
But it's great to have you here in Lagos, in Nigeria.
Good to be here.
We hope you can stay for longer. Thank you for lighting up our set. I was just looking at the shots. I'm like, wow, this looks nice. We should have this often. But it's been a pleasure having you, Maiwa Adegoke. We always speak to her from Dubai, but we brought her to Lagos to speak about these issues.
Off the screen.
There you go.
Just to the morning brief set.
Maiwa, thank you so much, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Well, we'll take a quick break now, and when we return, Nigerians are used to having, for example, a New Year's message from Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu, a broadcast we had in 2024, 2025, but 2026, nothing like that. So we'll be having Mr. Wale Fatade join us as we walk through some of the major political, security, governance issues for 2025, and of course, the elephant in the room, the President's New Year's message that we don't have. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Welcome back. It's still the morning brief, your perfect morning starter, and the very first for the year 2026. It's been an interesting one so far, and it's bound to get better. Speaking of which, let's begin looking at what transpired in 2025 and how it will shape 2026. But let's begin by welcoming our very own colleague, Mr. Wale Fatade, who joins us now on the program. Mr. Fatade, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Bukola.
Yes.
Good to be here. Good to hear your voice. Happy New Year to you, Kyle. What happened to Jeffrey?
Indeed. Congratulations. We made it. And Jeffrey will be joining us again tomorrow on the show, by the way.
Okay.
But let's begin with what we're missing in the year 2026. By now, we would have been reviewing the President's New Year message and the outlook for 2026, but we do not have it. How does that tie well with the new year?
Well, the President is away, and don't even know the specific country he is at the moment. They just told us Europe. And I think based on the classification that he used, Europe could be 43 or 49 countries. So maybe our president will touch all the countries or is in one specific country. But speaking of the president message, one of the president's staff or aide posted it on Facebook earlier this morning. And I saw that. Maybe that's the way they want us to access it. And I think public communication or political communication is very important. Perhaps our president feels or felt there was nothing new for him to tell us. And I'm not really sure. Probably you are bothered because that's our job as journalists to report such things. I'm not sure Nigerians are missing the president's message, as it were. I think we got bigger fish to fry than being bothered about the president message. That's what I think, because I've not been seeing anybody. The trend has not been that where is the president message. The trend has rather been where is the president, not where is the president message. So if we can't see the president, I'm not sure Nigerians are so bothered about his message. But one of his aides actually posted it earlier today on social media.
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. I mean, we've seen that message titled 2026 marks the beginning of a more robust phase of economic growth. President Tinubu's New Year goodwill message to Nigerians. Yes, we've seen this statement, but, you know, we're used to having that that speech, that broadcast, start the year on that note. So I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that Nigerians don't miss it, but clearly it doesn't look good. You usually
that's my assessment, Card. And I think you and I know, we've had this issue with successive presidents who have failed to address us or who have failed to speak to us. And perhaps maybe political scientists are in a better position to assess this.
Yeah.
But I think it speaks to, at certain level, the kind of disdain or the kind of, how do I put it now, the way our leaders see us. If citizens are expecting something from their leaders that is not illegal, that is not at certain level ungodly, I think it's not too tidy enough that those leaders are nowhere to be found. But it's just a continuation of what we have been used to as Nigerians and the way our leaders treat us.
So that's how we're starting 2026. But Mr. Fatade, 2025 was that year. Lots of political intrigues. And maybe we'll just start from here in Lagos. 2026 was 2025. Sorry, I'm not used to that already, so it might take a while to get used to.
Don't worry, you'll soon get used to it.
But 2025 here in Lagos, in case some people forgot, 2025 was the year that Speaker of Lagos State Assembly, Mudashiru Obasa, was actually impeached in that sense, and someone else took over, only for us to see the new person, Miranda, stepping down for this man to reclaim his seat. I'm not sure that has ever happened, but 2025 accommodated that intrigue in Lagos politics. I mean, as a journalist, as someone who has watched this space and covered it for years, did this mark like, something new for you that would maybe spiral into something bigger? You think that that smoke has been killed?
Oh, I think it's, and you said something about, I was basically looking at, considering that I was really of age during the Second Republic, 79, and we all knew then, those of us who are old enough, that the party system or the political parties were actually much stronger than office holders. I mean, I remember even the party in power then, the National Party of Nigeria, would not do anything without the fellow, the Baba we refer to as Baba Intutaba, for those of us in Ibadan then, Augustus Meredith Adisa Kiloye not being involved. Or later, Uba Ahmed, who became the secretary to the MPN, and even the late stage of Bafemi Awolowo, many instances deferred to the party. So I think it just shows how progressively, if you pardon the irony now, progressively how our democratic experience has depreciated, because there was a validly constituted assembly sitting, the House of Assembly, and they removed the then speaker. But then, in not a surprising move too much for me, where the power lies, we saw that being reversed. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's reverse a bit. How did the House of Assembly members emerge? Were there true primaries that show that their emergence or their candidacy, rather, were a product of the people's wishes and desire? Is these days of consensus? Is these days of party has decided this will be the candidate? And so if you owe your allegiance or maybe your ticket or the seat you occupy to somebody, you should not get ahead of yourself by thinking you are independent. You are still tied to the apron strings. I mean, and so if you remember political machines that we have had in this part of the world, or maybe you look at the Tammany Hall in New York, or the Daily Machine in Chicago, or even the machine of the late Sardauna or Bafemi Awolowo, you know how strong the party was, or the parties have been. So if you did not emerge as the desire or the wishes of the people, why are you complaining when the Lord and Master or your owner, in a way, say you should go this way? So, and I think that's what we just saw that time. That it shows where the power lies, and it shows who actually holds the reins of power. That's all. But it's not too tidy for democracy. That shows us how you begin to see when organs of government in the democracy that we claim we are practicing, when one organ is not functioning very well, all of us are going to be affected.
And speaking of organs of democracy, another event that saw 2025, heaving or palpitating, if you like, is the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State following months of tension and, if you like, violence in some, at some times in River State. That was eventually lifted 6 months after. But Mr. Fatade, how did that shape the politics of the entire, political landscape of Nigeria in 2025? And how is it yet to shape 2026 if you consider that there is still a seeming Cold War between political godfather and godson in River State and, by extension, some members of the State Assembly in River State?
I think at a certain level, Bukola, you have put a lot of issues together. The first one, and I pray God help me in addressing that. The first one is the declaration itself. And we have seen the Supreme Court going ahead to rule. Now, I remember speaking to a lawyer then, associate professor of public law, University of Lagos, who told us that based on the way the Constitution is now, Constitution did not specify, or does not specify rather, that, but the president followed the law, as it were. And I mean, when you have a client and a quiescence National Assembly or Senate, I think it was only the Senate that was supposed to rule on that, or affirm or vote on that, and they decided that. And you could see again how the Supreme Court judgment went, that the president did not do anything illegal, as it were. So we must note that. That's number one. And then we saw what happened after 6 months. Mr. Fubara was replaced. And I think the show, macabre now, yeah, that qualifier is necessary, that is currently going on, shows that it's not yet, not everything was this cliche, it's not yet wuru. Things are not yet over. And I remember reading one of the reports by Mr. Wiki, who said that 600 billion naira cannot save Fubara, or cannot help Fubara in getting the ticket. I was thinking in my mind, is that how much money, and pardon my ignorance, is that how much money the River State has to play with? Even though that might be an allegation, we are not sure. So I think the time ahead, the future in Rivers is interesting. These are interesting times, because in every other state where the governor is member of APC, it is the governor that is leading the party. And so it befuddles one that somebody who claims not a member of that party, somebody who claims or who has been alleged to be holding another party in store or in trust for the president, would be saying those things he's saying. And I think we River State citizens should not stand at ease yet, because the battle ahead promised to be very fierce and interesting. And it just, at a certain level, again, is a sad commentary on our nature of democratic governance. And you just weep in your mind that since 1999 that we have started this, then that's almost 30 years. A child born in 1999 who is still floundering the way our democratic experience is floundering, the parents will be remiss, or the guardian. And that's the sad commentary there, that what quality of governance are Nigerians getting? We seem to be concentrating so much on politicking at the expense of governance. And so you find public office holders supposedly elected or have been elected playing more politics than governance. And apparently the answer blows in the wind. We could see the quality of governance, we could see rather in the quality of lives that citizens are living. That's the sad thing for me.
So maybe it's fair to do a quick follow-up. Now he's been reinstated, but he just said, you know what, it's not enough to be reinstated. Let me move to the APC. He's moved to the APC. The former governor and FCT minister remains in the PDP. And it looks like there's a lot of...
In one of the PDP arms. You know, there are two arms, or two factions.
Very important point there. Is this storm over, or 2026 will see yet another chapter in the Rivers?
Oh, for Rivers State, and newsrooms are doing scenario planning or strategic planning on covering politics in 2026. Is what the voting reporter to Rivers State if you don't have, because there will be many, many things that will be unfolding there. We should keep our eyes on Rivers State. And we hope it's not going to be a yardstick or a measure of what will happen in the entire country.
Well, that's free consultation. That's really very kind of you, Mr. Fatade.
I remember to send my invoice to Mr. John.
Not us. We already have cross-border.
That's what I'm sending an invoice because you got it first, so it's hot and fresh.
You really? Well, no worries. You can send it over. We'll share it with those ones who are taking the advice.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned the CEO himself. He deserves to. He should be the one.
But 2025 also saw a lot of intrigues in the education sector. I mean, we can talk about politics all day, but politics affects real life issues like education, the economy. And one of the major talking points for 2025 was that incident with JAMB, where it admitted errors in its results. So let's take a listen to the JAMB registrar, Professor Oloyede.
Today marks a moment we shall not soon forget. A day that should have been filled with celebration for what was, until recently, regarded as our most successful UTM exercise. Regrettably, this joy has been overshadowed by an easily avoidable error by one or two persons. The unusual level of public concern and loud complaints has prompted us to do an immediate audit or review of what happened, which we ordinarily would have done in June. I want to make it clear that our review and investigation revealed that there are grounds for the complaints about our 2025 UTME result. 5 states of the Southeast were affected, but in terms of number, over 200, all of them coming from Lagos State, were affected, but 173,387 from the Southeast states. In clear terms, in the process of rectifying the issue, the technical personnel deployed by our service provider for LAG, Lagos and Southeast zones, inadvertently failed to update some of the delivery servers. Regrettably, this oversight went undetected prior to the release of the results. I appeal to the candidates and those affected by the error of our system to accept the explanation I've given as the truth on this matter. I apologize and take full responsibility, not just in words.
Professor Oloyede, they're in tears. That video got a lot of people talking. In 2025, we also saw the Ministry of Education saying, math is not compulsory for some courses, but then there was a U-turn. We saw WAEC students taking the WAEC, writing some of them examinations at night. All in all, Mr. Fatadi, education in 2025, your opinion, your perspective on it.
I think, and I apologize if I get a bit emotional about this, because my son was involved in that. And I was outside the country that time. So, but mercifully, my wife was able to manage the aftermath. And I thank her for that, even though I've said that. But I'm saying that publicly. Excuse me. And I'm remiss that Professor Oloyede is actually in the job as of now. Because if you apologize and you are taking full responsibility, what has happened? Has anybody been sanctioned for that? And by the way, I don't know how Nigerians think. When that thing happened, some of us kept on shouting. And even the Minister of Education himself, Dr. Alaus, said that it's the candidates that did not do well. And the minister tomorrow did not apologize for that, thereby stigmatizing a bunch of young people who have done very well. And I think it's a shame. And I say that again. But because we have raised the bar so low, or we have reduced the bar so low in Nigeria, that's why a mere apology and shedding of crocodile tears, that's how I put it, we think that suffices for lives that have been affected. And apparently, and I hope we have not forgotten, a candidate committed suicide because of this. This is more than a gaffe. I mean, I remember in my son's school, the parents actually had to come together. Remember again, they were preparing for school start, or they were already writing their WAEC exams, the SSC exams, when these results were announced. Now I can say this publicly. The first time that result was released, my son said the score JAMB gave my son was 164. And if I do not know anything, they said my son scored 41 in March. I told him that's a lie from the pit of hell. That could not be his result. And by the time the exam was, he was one of those who was asked to sit down again, to sit for the exam again. He got 362 and he scored 94 in March. Until tomorrow, my son will insist that He should have scored 380 based on what he was doing. And by the way, without mentioning the name of the school, 88 candidates were presented for UTME the first time, in my son's school. By the time they were asked to redo it again, I got the record there. 60 of them scored 300 and above out of 88. And the least in that school was 270. And by the way, I hope you remember, they did it differently. Different subjects, different combination in different sectors. Only God knows what happened. Until tomorrow, I believe the UTME result of this year or last year was not a reflection of the candidate's ability. And these are results that people take outside Nigeria. The SSE exam you mentioned too. Imagine schools that did not have power. That there is no electricity. They wrote that English exam at 10 p.m. In my son's school, it was around 9 p.m. Thank goodness, thank God they had power. So this is how we are trifling, or this is how we play kite, to use that popular expression in Nigeria with young people's lives. Until today, nobody has been sanctioned, nobody has been queried, there has been no investigation. The National Assembly or the Senate, they did what happened to that report? Nobody has been prosecuted, nobody has been forced to quit or resign because of this. Now tell us, it shows how we run and ruin the lives of young people. That's how sad it is.
Oh, Mr. Fatade, a very emotional walk down.
Oh, and there is one thing, excuse me,
yeah.
Bukola, we should stop deifying public officials. It is deification of Professor Loyede that people think he should not be criticized, people think he's above mistakes, people think he's above errors. Now, he's a matter of supporters or well-wishers, particularly our colleagues in the media. It's been thrown back in their faces now. Thank you.
Indeed, and I recall one of our guests also calling him out for not as much as acknowledging the candidate that took their own life after that admission, or prior to that admission of guilt in the error that was reported. But we hope that the policies in the education sector will augur well for Nigerian students in 2026. Let's go to another event that got a lot of Nigerians talking for weeks after it occurred, and that was the admission, yes, another admission by former military president Ibrahim Babangida that late MKO Abiola won the June 12, 1993 election. In his book, A Journey of Public Service, A Journey of Service, an autobiography of Ibrahim Babangida, launched in the year 2025. And Mr. Fatade, I wonder if you recall that this also elicited conversations around who the coups of that time were targeted at between the Igbos and the Yorubas. Has Nigeria, particularly after this admission, sufficiently addressed the elephant in the room around the issues that trailed June 12, 1993 presidential election, and especially the events, of the military coups of the time prior to former military president Ibrahim Babangida?
Well, I think, and that's why we should all be careful. By the way, that President General Babangida admitted, well, he called himself military president, that he admitted is a blunder or grave error. People, that is not going to undo what really happened. Think of the lives that were lost in the June 12 riots. And every time I wake up, sometimes I think of this, every time I think about it, rather, could Nigeria's trajectory have been different if that June 12 elections were actually upheld? Could we have avoided the military coup that followed? Remember, it was when Abacha took over. We had the Dia Phantom coup. People were executed, or things could have happened after that. We lost colleagues as journalists, who, because of the June 12 crisis. Some of us started journalism during that era. Walking as it were into the landmine of reporting in Nigeria. And here we are still talking about this. And apology does not cut it. And I think it's a shame that whatever good General Babangida did, and he did some, we must acknowledge that. There were some good things that came under his government. His tenure will be defined largely by annulling that election. That's so sad. That's a lesson for all of us, particularly those in leadership position at whatever level, that you should be careful. Whatever you do, the consequences of your action or inaction continue to reverberate years after you have left office. No matter how you try so much, no amount of whitewashing or no amount of deodorant, political deodorant or communication deodorant wash away that stench of the annulment of June 12th. And who knows, maybe Nigeria's story will not have turned out the way it is now.
Wow. Well, Mr. Fatade, while we're still dealing with the aftermath of all of that, 2025 also saw its fair share of defections. No, not fair share. I think 2025 was unfair. It took an unfair share of defections.
More than fair share.
More than others, really. The governor of Rivers State defected. The governor of Delta State defected. The governor of Akwa Ibom State defected. In fact, the old
Enugu State too defected.
The old South literally defected in that, and then Southeast, at least we had the governor of Enugu State defecting. The governor of Osun State too.
Bayelsa.
Yeah, Bayelsa, yeah, the South State. But the governor of Osun...
Thank you for rubbing about my home state. Yeah, my governor too. My home state.
The governor of Osun State's defection was not the typical defection, but it was a defection.
Oh yeah, his own was against the run of the grain.
Exactly. His heart was defecting in one place, but
it was not the usual defection.
Exactly.
And
against the run of
estimation that the governor of Kano State is about 42.
Exactly. We also saw Mr. Atiku Abubakar defecting, Mr. Nasir El-Rufai defecting, David Mark defecting, and one person said, I'm not going to miss this 2025 defection year. Mr. Peter Obi, last day of 2025, he's also defected. So yes, this year, or last year rather, was a year of defection. When you look at all of the defections, do you think it was for the good of the people, the good of democracy? Or what exactly?
Oh, even a new fight or a new need rather knows that it's all about personal interest. And I think you remember I alluded to that in one of my sessions on the morning brief where we were reviewing newspapers, that a colleague of mine owns the copyright for it, that Nigeria actually runs a one-party system, that the party in power is the first 11, that the other people in the other parties, they are on the bench. They are waiting for when they will be subbed on, using a football metaphor, or when they will come onto the field of play. So this just shows that our democracy at certain level is a joke. And we can, how do I put it now? We can emo ourselves or delude ourselves that things are improving. I mean, there's no fidelity to party. And people will actually tell you that it does not matter as long as it gets elected. That's what matters. Now, the question you begin to wonder about, or you start asking is this: what are the differences between APC and other political parties? Why could you not join together? So if you told us that this party was bad before, then you were in another party. How come you now found that party rather worthy of your presence? That's number one. Number two, you are actually untruthful. You are actually someone with low integrity. If you are given a mandate on a party's platform, and you carry that mandate to another party, and people will tell you, yeah, it was just elected, the party does not matter. No, people vote for different parties for different reasons. So it could be that they are voting against party A is based on a protest against party B. So now when you have won on the platform of party A, you carry that mandate to party B, and there's no sense of shame. And the other painful aspect of it is that even citizens are now outraged. They are not bothered. They see it as something normal. And so it is what it is. We get what we are getting. And as you said, the first 11 will still get more players as we are going.
There you go. And we don't know what 2026 holds, but we'll see. And I think the people will then make their choice come 2027. But Mr. Fatade, there's so much more to cover in 2025. We'll take a quick break now. When we return, Natasha Akpoti, the senator from Kogi State, and the Senate president, that drama was a major one in 2025. And it still continues in some sense. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Channels Television.
Welcome back. And so we continue with our review of the events that shaped the year 2025. And of course, we already set the tone for that by recalling what began as a seat rearrangement following a defection of a particular lawmaker. And so Senator Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan, began, to vent, and she alleged sexual harassment allegations against the leader of the Senate, Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio. And that sent the nation on an emotional roller coaster for months. But let's walk down memory lane.
His or her name at the may only be presented to the Senate by a senator who shall affix his or her name at the beginning thereof. The petition is in my name against the President of the Nigerian Senate, His Excellency Senator Godswill Akpabio, for sexual harassment, abuse of office, and malicious obstruction of my legislative functions. You may recall, sir, that on Friday in Arise TV, I did make some statements. And I have decided to narrow these statements in a formal petition against the President of this Senate. So if it may please you, I would humbly step forward and lay this petition. Thank you.
You may proceed.
Senator Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan there, the senator representing Kogi Central. And of course, there were a lot of other issues that arose out of the presentation of that petition. She was accused of not studying the Senate rules because she was not supposed to sign her own petition. There was a Senate hearing during which a former minister, had a clash with a senator, Senator Nweboyi. Unwholesome words were spoken. But right after that, Mr. Fatade, we have seen Senator Natasha inviting Senator Godswill Akpabio to her own event in Kogi State. So what are the lessons that we have learned? We even saw towards the end of the year, Senator Godswill Akpabio congratulating Senator Natasha on the celebration of her own birthday on the floor of the Senate. I believe they're birthday mates, by the way. But what are the lessons that we learned from this months-long battle between Senator Akpoti-Oduaghan and the Senate leadership? Mr. Fatade.
Thank you, Bukola. By the way, the Senate President congratulating senators on the floor of the Senate is not peculiar to Senator Natasha, without any disrespect to whatever has transpired. It's a regular thing. If you have watched the National Assembly proceedings or have witnessed it live, they usually do that. But the lessons for me is that when Nigerian politicians are fighting, citizens should be careful in taking sides. And we have said that over and over again, that my own father has a way of describing Nigerian politicians. He said the stone on the top and the stone below, they are both stones. So it is who we are. When political gladiators are in the arena, we should be careful of taking sides. That's number one. So it's amazing that you begin to wonder the matters in court, and I leave this to their lawyers. What are the things you'll be pleading now in court with the way it has turned out now? But on another side, it shows how we still treat women in this part of the world. Because you found out that people made some comments there, even some senators, that actually were degrading womanhood. That actually did not affirm the position, the esteemed position that women deserve in the scheme of things. And you know, a lot is stacked against women in the political arena already. I mean, they are underrepresented. They are not well protected, and we have seen this kind of issue being replicated at different levels across Nigeria, whereby people will shout at a woman if she's trying to fight for her right, that sit down, should you even be here? Your place is in the kitchen. And so it's sad that we are still weaponizing gender in the year of the Lord 2025. It's sad that despite research and studies showing that women actually contribute more to the GDP than men, they've shown how hardworking they are. We are still viewing them through that lens of weaker sex. And so we still believe that a woman, except for physiology, in intelligence and intellect, is not equal to a man, or does not equal to a man, which is so sad. So that some people view that incident from the gender of the lens of gender, weaponizing gender, as though women are subpar, or women, how do I put it? Women are not fit to hold leadership position. And I think we should do better as a society. And it is painful again at certain level. Women actually, they are their own worst enemies. They are the ones that shut down fellow women from taking their rightful position. So Nigerian women should do better. Even when society is against you, women should support women more.
So hope 2026 will be that year. Women supporting women, indeed. From politics, Mr. Fatade, let's go over to security. This was also a year that saw more than its fair share of insecurity across parts of the country. You can talk about the Uromi killings in the early part of the year. We had travelers who were killed in Edo State, and that caused national uproar. The president condemning the killings, the governor of Edo State having to visit Kano State, to commiserate with the governor and the family members. Some sort of dark spot, you will see, but it would appear it was handled well, at least by the authorities. And the Plateau killings as well, which has become a yearly thing, right? The Plateau killings. And towards the end of the year, we saw Reverend Achomo standing up like a savior, a superhero of sorts, raising issues, and the United States picking this up. Of course, we had the Benue killings as well, the Yelawata killings, the abductions, the large-scale abductions, over 300 in Niger State, the attack that was live-streamed in Kwara State. And I think if there's anything we've spoken about a lot in 2025, it would be insecurity. But do you think we have turned the corner, Mr. Fatade?
I think the first one for me is that I don't know anybody who watched that video of Eruku, I think, in Kwara State, who did not end up being traumatized, especially with that old woman who could not run very well. And it's a shame that that's what we have turned Nigeria into. And by the way, I hope you remember, there are still some people in captivity as we speak now in Kogi State, and which other state again? There was a Reverend Canon of the Anglican Church, I think, a canon rather, who has been killed as it was reported, but whose wife and daughter are still being held captive. And it's just, as a father, you are traumatized seeing young children being kidnapped, whether in Niger, in Kwara, in Kogi, in Benue, or wherever parts of Nigeria. And it's shameful that these things have been with us for about 13, 14, 15 years now, and we've not been able to turn the tide or turn the corner. And it's particularly shameful again that until the United States or the president of the United States threatened many things to all, against us, that's when our government, our president now took it much more serious. I begin to wonder that how long are we going to play politics with people's lives? The first duty of a government is protection and security and welfare, protection, security, and welfare of the citizens. And I think based on the evidence so far, our current government could do better than what we have. And I hope the U.S. intervention, and by the way, there's no shame in admitting that I can't help myself, I need help. Sovereignty is not particularly important when the lives of your people are being taken away willy-nilly. And so you don't hold on to sovereignty when you can't protect your own people. And so it's a good thing at a certain level that the United States Army is actually involved now with our own forces. And so it's up to the Nigerian Army and our government to actually work on the gains being recorded by the US Army. That's all. But it's apparent that our government did not do well in protecting its citizens. Now, we've been hearing comments about state police, state police, state police. When is that taking off? I mean, we could see what has happened to Amotekun. There was a news report about 2-3 days back. I don't know how far that is true, but it was widely reported that some of those who are in the areas where the strikes have been targeted at, they have actually escaped down to Ondo State. How possible that is, nobody knows. So we just show that all hands must be on deck, and governments at all levels should do better. The evidence tells in our faces. But I do not think, to now cap that up, I'm not sure we have turned the corner yet. I don't think so. So we should not rest on our oars. The government should do more.
And, it would be remiss of us to talk about the politics, the political high points of 2025 without also looking at the management of other aspects of our national life, and the implications for the type of governance that we're experiencing. And so we recall the disasters that occurred in the year 2025, the Mokwa floods that saw death toll exceeding 150, I believe, the boat mishaps that were recorded in some states of the Federation, including Sokoto. And just days ago, an unfortunate accident on the Makun end of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway that saw the death of 2 aides of world heavyweight champion, British-Nigerian Anthony Joshua. And so does this place, undoubtedly so, by the way, a question mark on the type of, the outcomes of the governance that we're experiencing, Mr. Fatadi?
I applied that expressway, or whatever it is, what we can call it that, applied it on Saturday, 28th. And when I was coming to Lagos from Abeokuta, where I went for a function, the outbound Lagos was already heavy. I mean, it has built as far as the Oworo area, Yano Oworo axis, solely because there was an articulated vehicle that had an accident earlier in the morning. Now, remember, the gentleman I gave a ride to told me that has been there, or that happened in the morning when he was leaving Lagos for Abeokuta. And so we should do better with our response time. And if we do not know now, when that road was completed, I remember telling my friend who were on the journey together that there will be more accidents on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. And I'm no road specialist, I'm no transport specialist, but based on the attitude of people, based on what I see that happen. I mean, remember one day that people could not get to your studio, or many, I mean, there have been days that was one day I was supposed to have a program in Ibadan. I had to turn back because I could not access the expressway. And so it's high time, whether we are going to deploy cameras or monitoring cameras or whatever we are going to deploy, we need to take special interest in the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. And as of today, by the way, that's the only functioning road in the Southwest. The rest are under construction, or either under construction or have been abandoned. So we need to, we can do better. It's so painful what happened to Anthony Joshua and the other people. And as much as we love to speak good things about our country, I think it's the Independent of London, or where was I reading either yesterday or today, that got a picture of one of our regular gridlocks on that expressway, and now had the caption, the notorious highway where Anthony Joshua people died. And I felt sad as a Nigerian that that's the kind of picture, or that's the kind of story that they will be reporting about my country. But on the other side, that's a fact. And so whether it's the FRSC or what have you, and at a certain level again, we were coming to Ibadan on this December, and we were nearing Ibadan when I just saw there was this long convoy, the traffic backup, as Americans would say, was so long, and I was like, what's happening? It turned out that it was the policemen that actually put logs of wood on the expressway and were supposedly checking vehicles on an expressway. I mean, and so if you do not know the road very well, you are not sure there are checkpoints along that area, the Lagos-Ibadan expressway is notorious. By the time you leave the Gumaraji village, there's another detachment of policemen, Federal Highway Patrol, they call them. I mean, why should we have this on the expressway? I mean, unless there is a specific threat that you are trying to nip in the bud. These are things that make that road. And lastly, for me, the culture of driving. People say we don't have a culture of driving. We do. It's just that we have the bad culture. The culture of driving on our roads is terrible. And hopefully the ban on alcohol sachet, will take effect today. I still can't wrap my head around the sale of alcohol in our motor parks as early as 5 a.m., 6 a.m. You guys are people that leave home very early. I can't understand that. The people we have committed our lives to.
Indeed,
There's a group in US called Mothers Against Drunk Driving. March, MADD. The group of people, professional drivers that we have committed our lives to, that drive people. We allow them to or whatever, the sachet alcohol. That's what they take early in the morning.
It's just an irony, isn't it, Mr. Fatade? And we forget that driving is actually a privilege. But in this part, you just treat it like
my own father who taught me how to drive made me realize that anytime you get on the wheel might be your last if you are not careful.
If you're not careful. But Mr. Fatade, so there are issues that fall under clear categories: politics, security, governance. But there are those we just describe as major trends. Take, for example, the Kwam 1 incident, which I don't know if
the plain one.
Yeah, the plain one. And this is right here.
These are things that make us Nigerian. That's all. It's a peculiarly Nigerian thing. You can't find out elsewhere.
So
I'll tell you that.
After we had Kwam 1, and there was a lot of back and forth, we had what a lot of people describe as Kwam 2. Yet again, a female passenger who was dragged off a plane. And, that also caused major debates. We had just recovered from, the music maestro standing in front of the plane over the back and forth. And this one happened again in the most unsavory manner. And Mr. Fatade, there was a third one, which some described as Kwam 3, a man being dragged off an Enugu air flight. So, yeah, we had our fair share of air issues. Thankfully, no air mishap. So if this is at least what we deal with, it's okay.
That's a much more plausible thing. It's a much more positive thing.
Indeed.
Than your Kwam 1, Kwam 2, Kwam 3.
So it speaks to attitude, I think.
The fact of your country not qualifying for World Cup. Despite your
speech, Mr. Fatade,
which was
not qualified
big
yet.
As a mango seed or a pawpaw.
Never say never, but that's not what we call it. We also
you open on the DRC petition. you did not qualify, or you did not because you do not deserve to be at the World Cup. That's all.
And we saw, speaking of trends, we saw some emergency movie producers coming off of the exchange between the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory and that, naval officer over a land matter. We saw that one also.
Miss out that?
Yes, indeed. And the renaming, not forgetting the renaming of the popular Charlie Boy bus stop, Gudu, Lagos, to Bado bus stop. So just tie those two events together for us as we begin to wind down.
I think for the naval officer and that of the FCT minister, it just shows that people forget their briefs. People forget their limits. I do not think it's the job of a minister to be physically enforcing such things. And I do not think, again, it's the president that should have intervened in that matter, kept mute. We don't know where it has stopped to. Where it stopped. And I think for renaming of Charlie Boy bus stop, it's all politics. The question you should have asked is that those bus conductors and drivers and passengers, have they warmed up to the new name yet?
Big question, Mr. Fatade.
You can call it anything you want to call it. But what do the people still call it?
Very important question, Mr. Fatade. Maybe we'll take a bonus as we wind down. I think one of the talking points was also what happened between Two-Face and his wife, the divorce, and then the new bride in town, and then the controversies that surrounded that as well. So if Two-Face or Two-Baba now, if he's not trending when it comes to his music, he's trending
because of his women.
Yeah, the African queens in that sense. But Mr. Fatade, I think we must mention one of the biggest losses in 2025, the loss of former President Muhammadu Buhari. He wasn't expected for a lot of people. So at a time when a lot of people had gone past that stage. I mean, when he was president, when he had the health scares, that came up. But he was out of the woods. He was resting, and that happened. So final words on this, Mr. Fatadi.
Well, for me as a Christian, I believe in the words of the Bible that says our lives and times are in the hands of God. We don't know who will die next. But I would have loved the former President Buhari to be alive to see what is happening now, especially with the Attorney General. I mean, the nation's chief law officer under him facing a plethora of charges. And I think the Yoruba saying that, don't worry, when the day has been fixed, it will soon come. There have been many more things that will come out from the under about the Buhari government. Nigeria should just be patient. Yeah, many more.
A fine way to wrap it up. Expectations, patience, and of course not forgetting where we emanate from. We must thank you for sharing your new year with us, Mr. Wali Fatadi, on this one. Mr. Wali Fatadi is a journalist, our very own colleague. Thank you. A
pleasure.
For your time.
So there you have it. A look at 2025. More importantly, this will help us shape 2026 as a government and as a people. So thank you for joining us on the show. Here's wishing you a happy new year indeed. I'm Kayode Okikilu.
And cheers to a peaceful and prosperous 2026. Sunrise Daily is up next. I am Bukola Koka. Bye for now.